Good morning and hello and welcome to Moving Through Menopause. We are still moving through menopause, Shirley.
We certainly are.
And so good morning to Shirley Ward. Shirley's a nutritionist and today we are talking about intimate health. Again, this is our topic this next week or so. And so, food, you are what you eat, is never a truer word spoken. And so after menopause or around menopause, women can experience this reducing estrogen levels, which can cause, for some women, vaginal dryness. And so how on earth can food contribute to this, or how on earth can food help us with this problem?
Okay, no, really good. A good question to start with, Philippa. Well, I think let's take a step back and think about, you're absolutely right in that you said about, vaginal dryness can be, one of the issues that women experience, but actually it's much wider than that, especially around menopause and actually around pregnancy as well. A big issue can be vaginal dysbiosis and bacteriosis. It's quite a common thing, unfortunately, and vaginal infections. And it's a really interesting link. I had a lady recently that we were looking into that for her, and she's seen some real successes with food changes and lifestyle changes as well. Being a health coach, I go very much into lifestyle changes and behavioural change as well, which is really important for sustainability. So let's have a sort of quick refresh of what we need for sort of good health in the vaginal area. There's some real links and similarities with gut health as well, interestingly, because we're looking at the microbiome, the beneficial flora, beneficial bacterial strains in both those areas. And actually in the vaginal area, there are the balance of those is really important to keep your vaginal health up. And interestingly, in the vaginal area, there has been a lot of studies that show that there are 2 or 3 key strains that we need to have good levels of. So strains of the family of bacteria called lactobacillus or lactobacillus. And we don't need much diversity in the vagina. It's interesting. We need a lot of diversity in the gut, but not so much in the vagina. We need to keep that diversity limited, for want of a better word, because those the lactobacillus strains of bacteria actually utilize glycogen. So glycogen is a stored form of glucose, which we are fueled by glucose. And the lactobacillus need the energy from the glucose, which interestingly, the estrogens, it's under the control of the estrogens. So the estrogens metabolize the glycogen into glucose so that the lactobacilli bacteria can actually do their bit and produce that acidifying environment that the vagina needs to remain healthy, if that makes sense. So they're very acidifying, and that gives the vaginal environment a degree of stability. Okay, and so they're able to, that area is able to withstand some infections more or better, if you like. So that's just kind of a bit of a refresh. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's just incredible, the ability of the body to, generate the appropriate conditions. But we need to supply it with all the necessary raw ingredients, don't we, is the thing.
We absolutely do.
And so what you're talking about there is the requirement for estrogen in that process. And so that kind of explains how a dysbiosis can occur more commonly, perhaps, around this time. And so there are foods that can help with, the phytoestrogens, for instance.
Yes, absolutely. They're, a good start. But I'm actually going to take a step back, and just before we go into that, I'm going to say about some other foods which are really helpful as well. Some prebiotic and probiotic foods. So again, we're going back to that source that we've spoken about a bit before, Philippa, because these are so helpful for sort of repopulating, certain areas. So prebiotics, you've got garlic, you've got leeks, you've got onions, chives, or the allium family, really good. And the prebiotics are are providing fuel for the probiotic beneficial bacteria strains. And the probiotics are, my go-tos are always fermented foods. And we've touched on this a little bit before. So sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, and, a good organic plain bio yogurt, really good if you're okay with dairy products. So these are helping to repopulate levels of good bacteria. And the prebiotics that I just mentioned are helping to feed the good bacteria. So they're a really good combination. So making sure you're getting a good variety of those in your diet is a really good start. But as well as food sources, I'd also say look at lifestyle sources from an estrogen balance point of view. Because, especially around menopause, estrogen levels are dropping, as we know. But actually, we've got a secondary source of estrogen production in the adrenals. And the adrenals are amazing organs, and you will know them from producing the stress hormones, but they're also producing a secondary source of estrogen. So if we keep our adrenals healthy, then that's a really good way we can support estrogen production and support a healthy vaginal environment. And stress is going to be one of the key factors to keep in check, to keep your adrenals from becoming overworked. So, and I know that you're such a fan of meditation and yoga, etc., Philippa. So I'm going to pass over to you for some of those tips there to help to keep stress levels low.
Yeah, absolutely. We come back to stress, don't we, for so many different health consequences. And I think that so many of us are just living in a state of chronic low level of stress, so much so that we kind of don't even realize this is happening to us. And it is only when you sort of step away and take a holiday, perhaps, that you actually, on reflection, realize that you've been clenching your jaw for the last 6 weeks or something. Yeah. So first and foremost, it's really around awareness and becoming more in tune with our bodies. And this is what I love about yoga, meditation, practices is just honing that ability to really, really tune in to what is going on inside of your mind, and also in the consequences in the body where you might hold tension unnecessarily. For instance, neck and shoulders is a very common thing, and so just something as simple as 6 rescue breaths, 6 deeper breaths than you would normally take, and we can bring down the level of excitement of the neural system and reduce the stress levels. And and so that's kind of like an emergency strategy. But as is always the case, it's what you do throughout each day that's really going to have an impact on your life. And so making some time each day to either practice, mindfulness practices. It could be a mindful walk even. It might be that you sit quietly and close your eyes and separate yourself with some gentle breaths and some visualization, some meditation. So, but making this a part of your life. We're always complaining we don't have time, but brief practices can be effective. And so even just 5 minutes of making a point, and we know that we need to tag these things onto other habits in our lives, in our days, So the kettle is something I go on about all the time, but we are often switching on the kettle and waiting, and so in this moment of waiting, you have an opportunity to do something, and it might be a journaling, or there's so many different strategies, and it is important to find the thing that speaks to you, because
Yeah.
everybody's different. You know this, Shirley.
Yeah.
And so find something that speaks to you. And I mean, you may never have thought that doing breathing practices, meditation, yoga could help your vagina, but now that I know that's entirely possible, I might just do even more of it, Shirley.
Indeed. No, and I think it's a great thing to be aware of. And I had a lady recently, and she'd taken on board and been practicing deep breathing exercises throughout the day. Anytime she felt she was feeling stressed, and also before eating as well, just to calm everything down so that she can have more efficient digestion, because that was another factor that she wanted to address. And she's seen really good improvements. So some anecdotal evidence there.
Oh yeah, we love these stories. People being helped, because
Yes.
that's the only reason we do this stuff. We're not really wanting to be famous, are we, Shirley?
Well, we don't know what will come of it, do we? But no, absolutely. Helping, and supporting health is our key theme. I absolutely agree. Yes.
So the probiotics, the prebiotics we've talked about, and the fact that what foods, the food sources,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course there are supplements, the supplemented food, and I think I heard that it is important to be sure that when you are using food as a source of these good bacteria, that you are aware of what is in them, because some things will say that they're full of it, and perhaps they're not quite as full of it as other things might be. So
no,
yeah.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, if you can just prepare your food from scratch, and you know exactly what's gone into it. But any food that is pre-prepared, read the label. You will be surprised that obviously we've just finished one of our sugar detox challenges, Philippa, and we were going into label reading, and how surprised some were that sugar is in very savory products. I mean, what on earth is that about? It's crazy. And so, sugar is going to change the internal pH of your digestive system, and potentially the internal pH of your vaginal area as well. So, you don't want that to start being a fuel source for those pathogenic bacteria and yeasts. So as soon as the vaginal environment moves away from that acidifying pH, because of various factors that we can go into more, then you're much more open to opportunist bacteria like Candida albicans, which absolutely does reside in the vaginal area. But as long as we've got those acidifying lactobacillus bacteria at good levels, they keep that down at bay. But as soon as that environment moves into a more alkalizing environment, the lactobacillus bacteria are really struggling to survive. So opportunist yeast and like Candida albicans can then start going, start spreading and creating a whole host of issues, and leading to candidiasis if it's not managed.
Yeah, I think this is the key, the balance, maintaining your natural balance. And so, I'm going to talk about odors just for a minute.
Okay.
And you know what? I am quite highly tuned in this department.
Okay.
I'm very responsive to odors. People, I'll be going, oh, can you smell whatever it is? And everybody else around me is going, no. So, and I might have a bit of dog DNA. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But yeah, I've got a very sensitive nose. And so sometimes you notice that things you might have eaten are influencing your outputs. Okay. And so urine in particular, I can definitely tell if I've had too much sugar in the changes in the odor of the urine.
That's very good reflective work there, actually, Philippa. Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, it's in season at the moment. Asparagus is quite an interesting food. So some of us lack a potential gene in the digestion of asparagus. And I'm not saying it doesn't get digested properly, don't get me wrong, but some people can notice a slight odor in their urine after eating asparagus because you're lacking this specific gene. It's quite interesting, actually, that one. So that's just an example that sprang to mind. And of course, asparagus is in season at the moment, packed full of vitamin C, folic acid, great fiber. So, really good. And actually that is a prebiotic as well. So yeah, that's a really good source of prebiotics as well. So
yeah, so that's interesting because I got given some asparagus. Somebody had grown it in their allotment thingy.
Oh, how lovely.
I made asparagus soup. I know it's not really soup season, but I like it. So, and yeah, I could definitely tell. So I must be lacking in the gene department.
But it's not a major problem. It just means that you will have that slight odor. So yeah, but I just thought it's quite an interesting link there.
No, it is definitely. But like you say, such a good source of so many fantastic micronutrients that
it really is.
And you mentioned seasonal eating, and this is really important that we do embrace seasonality in our eating.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because anything that's available now, in the UK has had far less air miles to travel. It hasn't been stored in refrigerated containers, so that nutritional element is decreasing. So absolutely, the closer you can buy your food to where you are and where it's been grown, then the potential for those issues is reduced. So absolutely. And I think farm shops have seen a huge increase since lockdown, which is fantastic, and people are buying more locally, which is only beneficial from a food point of view, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. So I did mention earlier, a little bit earlier, maybe prematurely, about the soy-containing foods as a potential to support estrogen. You mentioned about our own adrenal glands generating a source of estrogen.
Yeah.
Also, the soy-containing foods are purported to support us in this area. Is this something that you have an understanding of?
I would. So it's mainly your sort of fermented soy foods, so like miso and tempeh.
Right.
So they are your fermented soya products, and that is where that fermentation sort of contains the phytoestrogen content, if that makes sense. So phytoestrogen purely means a plant form or a plant-like estrogen substance. So it's not it's not exactly like our the estrogen that we produce, but it can help to balance hormonal levels. So, and it depends what you need. So it's a balancer. Non-fermented soy products, I would say just keep in balance with everything else that you're eating. Don't go too mad. I've had a gentleman recently came to see me, and one of the things we noticed in his diet was he'd avoided dairy. He just stopped doing dairy and he just went straight onto soy. Onto soy products and soya milk and soya yogurt, and I was like, oh, why? Any particular reason why you're eating so much? He's like, oh, I just don't like dairy. So I'm like, okay, let's get some more balance in there. Let's get some oat milk in there. Let's get some rice milk in there. Hemp milk, because there's a lot of varieties of hemp milk out there now, which also has great essential fats there, in a great essential fat source. So, there's lots of different types of dairy-free milk which are worth looking into and varying. Variety of diet is a really crucial thing.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because I'm a terror for finding something that I like, and it's like mostly this week I am eating a little bit, the same.
And you don't think about it, do you? And it's I see it quite regularly, and you're not alone there, but it's just having a think about little things like that and just keeping variety in there.
So I guess the one thing we haven't mentioned. Oh, sorry, hemp. I was going to say hemp. Is hemp flax? Are we in the same department? No. Flax and hemp.
Flax is linseed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So
Hemp.
flax is linseed. Yeah. So hemp is hemp. Hemp is, they make rope from hemp, but you know, hemp is grown and is also a really good source to eat as well. So yeah, you'll notice those in the supermarkets, in the you know, the milk aisle as well, and the dairy-free milk aisle. But again, as we were saying earlier about any food that's prepared, just read the label and, you know, make sure that you're comfortable with what it contains.
Yeah, exactly. And so the last thing that we really must mention, and maybe we could have talked about this first, but hydration, so important.
So important. Yes. I mean, when you think about a good way to look at it is, you know, it pumps up your external skin. You know, if you're dehydrated, your skin can get a bit loose and it loses elasticity. Well, remember, that's doing exactly the same to your internal skin, your internal membrane. You know, your digestive tract, for example, is your internal skin, if you like, and it needs hydration. It needs, you know, for softness, elasticity, to keep your internal skin cells really healthy as well. And of course, we're thinking about that vaginal health area as well. So I think that's a really good point, Philippa. Keeping yourself hydrated. Thank goodness we've seen some sun recently, some great weather, but you'll probably have noticed you'll have been sweating a little bit more, and you've got to keep your hydration levels up. So, you know, if you're not a great water fan, gradually increasing it up, 1.5, 2 litres a day, but think about your fruit teas, and, you know, just even making your own, like fresh sage and rosemary tea, for example. We've posted on that before. So my sage and rosemary tea, I should post that again on this site. So have a look at that. And sage and rosemary are great antifungals and antibacterials, everybody. So again, helping to keep your, you know, any potential pathogen levels down.
So vaginal health from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to look at it that way for it to be effective.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I hope I've definitely learned something. So I think there will be other people who have.
You're very welcome. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. So take care. Have a great day, and drop us any questions if you've got any questions.
Happy to answer any. So, yep. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.